What is good, everybody, man? Welcome into the Blue Bloods, the Coach's Corner edition. Myself, my guy, Coach Fred. We got a special episode with you guys tonight, as of course we announced last week. Each week we're going to pick a game of the week, try to get coaches from both teams on the show. Sadly, our guy, Coach Holmes, had something come up last minute, but we're still joined by our special guest here, man. Coach Torenzo Quinn, defensive backs coach for Jackson State, defensive passing game coordinator. Coach Quinn, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Hey, not bad, not bad. Hey, it's finally here. I know it's been a long journey for you guys. I know for both of you guys are ready to kick it off. You guys get a week 0 game. I want to start here though. Before we get into everything, you took this new job. You were at Alcorn State last season. What is the transition like? What has it been like for you from Alcorn State stepping into Jackson State?
It was most definitely different. I can say that. The expectation in the building, you can feel it. The moment you step through them doors, we have a lot of resources, a lot of great talent. So the expectation is supposed to be high. So other than that, it's been smooth. The family, the football family, the community did a great job of welcoming me in. So it's a blessing.
Looking at going into the year, listen, I know everyone's preparing for week 1. I know that's what my guy Coach Fred's doing right now. What's the difference in terms of coaching preparation for a week 0 game? Does it change anything at all, or is it just kind of speed up the schedule for you guys in the off season?
Well, more of speeding up the schedule. It's just like week 1. We going in this game not necessarily blind, but I'm quite sure, he got some new wrinkles, some things that he's doing different than his last stop. So I think it's more of the speed of the schedule.
Coach Fred, I'm gonna let you jump in, man. Before I get to my next ones.
So, going into it, man, my guy, I'm gonna need you to elaborate just a little bit now. You said the expectations. I mean, you were down in championship country. What you mean the expectations are different? I need you to elaborate on that for me.
Well, just coming off a back-to-back undefeated SWAC season, when you step in the building, the things that you need to recruit, the resources, the money, everything at an all-time high. So I look around the room every day and I say, hey, the expectations are supposed to be high, the things that we have in place here. But it wasn't a shot, Coach Fred. I made 2 down there on the yard, man.
Good. Okay, man, you good. Man, you good. I didn't know if that thing had rubbed out up there. But, kind of following Blue on a question, with the week 0 deal, the one time that I was involved in it, of course, you start practice a little bit earlier than everybody else. What was with the all-time high in the heat in the state, what's been the mental part of it for the kids coming back early? Everybody else hasn't started. You guys are really the only ones out in the heat, on the grass. They look around, see guys still having fun. What was that like for you to get those guys back in go for a week 0 type situation?
First, I thought they embraced it. They was excited to get started. The guys pretty much been on campus since summer. So they was excited to just start to put them pads on and knock each other around.
Quinn. Torenzo. Are you back? You with me? B, can you hear him?
No, I cannot. Coach Quinn, if you can hear us, man, drop back out and come back in using the same link. And we'll hop right back into it. There he goes. We'll get Coach Quinn back shortly, man. But man, week 0 is finally here, Coach. We didn't really get to do a full introduction, man. I mean, what's things like going on in Alcorn right now?
Well, I mean, we are basically 1 week away. So this is a time for us, man, that we're starting to come back, scale it back a little bit, get the guys back in the groove, get the legs back under them, a little less contact, more of the honing in on the opponent for that week. And so, trying to get them adjusted to school, which was a plus without started school a week early. So they got that part of, life out of the way, so to speak. And now coming into a game week, they've already been in school for a little while, a little week. And now, it's football. So, classes, there's no excuse now. You know where you're going. There's nothing else. You know who has what class, who doesn't have a class at this time. So now you've had a chance to work out wait times, meeting times, and all that. So it's been a pretty good little deal for us. And this week was, less than perfect, but we got good work, and now coming in Sunday, we'll be straight into Southern Miss week.
Coach Quinn, we got you back. You hear us?
Quinn,
I can.
Perfect, man.
Sir.
We'll jump right back into it. Yeah, man, we'll jump right back into it. So looking just at the defensive back room, you guys were you guys recruited at a very high level, both in the high school ranks and the transfer portal ranks. Can you talk a little bit about the guys that you brought into that room and how you're feeling as you guys approach your first game of the season in week 0?
Man, that Jackson State internet. I think that's what got him again. Technical issues. Quinn, that's you, babe? See you moving. Can you hear us? You back? Yay? Nay? Nope.
Someone in the comments said it's storming in Jackson right now, so that also could be the case.
Oh, storming. Wow. We need a little rain too, but it's not
Yep. But man, we'll get back into it, man. Week 0 is finally here though, Coach. And I mean, listen, we're gonna get into the big announcement, man, while we someone in the chat said his internet plan hasn't switched over from Alcorn Jet. And that was good, Calvin. That was good. But man, obviously Coach Buddy Pugh made the announcement today that he will be stepping down at the end of the season. He's entering year 22 right now, which is just insane. 22 or 23 is what he's going to end up coaching. I mean, the winningest coach in South Carolina State history, who's had some legends come through, Coach Jeffries and some other names. When you look at just his overall career, I mean, man, it's a interesting time, and we'll get into that. But what were your first thoughts when you heard the announcement for Coach Pugh?
Man, first thoughts was like, okay, has this been confirmed? It's real, that kind of thing, because he's been doing it for so long, and at a high level. And then you hear that, and then, you immediately just start thinking back, like, wow, okay. He pretty much made and raised that program and brought it to national prominence where it is now with draftable kids, winning big time games, and just keeping that little, I won't say little school, but that smaller school in a big spotlight.
Yeah, I mean, and someone in the chat asked, was he forced out, anything like that? He apparently told his team that he wasn't, that he just thought that this was his time to step down. And I thought the timing was interesting. Right before, 2 days before the first game of the season, a big game on ABC. I mean, do you think, okay, so I know that obviously that announcement isn't going to ultimately have an impact on the game on the field because those guys still got to go out and perform, but do you think it changes the energy surrounding that team as they enter week 0?
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. I think, now I'm sure that wasn't part of the plan, so to speak, but it changes it all, because now you're talking about every week going out and playing at a high level, the highest level you can possibly play at for a coach. And now you're talking about guys from the past, NFLers, guys that you only see in the program on the walls and the record books. Now they're coming back every week, a guy here, a guy there. And now that motivation, for the guys that are actually putting the helmets on, man, now I think it means a lot more because from what I understand, I've never played for him, never coached for him, never been around him, so to speak, that everybody, to know him is to love him. So everybody's going to be playing at 100% now, to make sure that they do their part to get coach a win every single game. So the timing is not bad for them, but it could be bad for others.
It makes me a little bit nervous. You see this in sports, obviously there are some retirements that don't go well, but it seems like every time a legend has like a farewell tour, it all like, man, you look at some of the greats, like it always ends as like that's the best way to go. Look at John Stickelmeyer last year for South Dakota State. Went out on top, winning a national title. I mean, it makes me a lot nervous to pick against South Carolina State this year. I'm going to be completely honest with you, especially the fact that you have a lot of guys who have been with Buddy for a while. You look throughout some of these returning guys, the Patrick Godbolts, the Jablonski Greens, the Corey Fields. Those guys have been with Buddy throughout the 3-win season, from the Celebration Bowl victory to through it all. So, man, they're going to want to go out on the highest note they possibly can. I'm very interested to see if Buddy can go out on top. And I know someone in the chat's already asked your thoughts on what's next for South Carolina State. Where do you think they look? Do they go get a proven head coach somewhere? Do they bring up an assistant from in the staff? Everyone knows how I feel about who should replace Buddy Pugh, and we'll get into that in a second. But Coach, from your standpoint, what do you think the next move is for South Carolina State?
I think they are a program that's not going to have to look for resumes. They'll get plenty of those. So they'll have an opportunity to choose who. I think, for them, the next, this hire is very important because of what you just lost, the stability, the long term. And you and I both know in this game, man, it ain't it's no more of those guys like Coach Pugh. There's no more of those guys like Coach Bowden. There's no more guys like, Coach Robinson. There's no more guys in the business that are given the opportunity and that are taking the opportunity, so to speak. Meaning, a guy may be there 3 years, become hot, looking on for the next hot thing. A guy may have a bad 3 years. The school is, hey, we're looking for the next best thing. So the game has changed. So I think they go out and try to find somebody that's kind of proven, that's not a shot in the dark. Of course, they want quality, but I don't think they go and get a jumping jack flash type thing because of what they just lost.
Yeah, obviously, I think Chinnisberry should be very high on the list. Obviously,
go, didn't you?
Yeah,
if it happened.
I've said it for since probably the end of last season. I said if Buddy didn't perform this year, got to go get Chinnisberry from Benedict. And I think Lawrence put a good one in the chat. What about Sam Washington from North Carolina A&T? Now, we know he wasn't very happy with A&T's decision to leave the MEAC. If an opportunity arises like South Carolina State in the MEAC, is that enough to entice him to get back into coaching?
And he's proven.
Oh, yeah, very.
And he's proven. He's proven in the conference. He's proven in the business. Probably has one of the most famous quotes ever, to go so he's proven he can do it. And I didn't, I kind of forgot all about Coach Wash, so to speak. But I mean, that would probably be one that they would actually call.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, just looking around, I think those are probably the top two names for me. Obviously, if they go get an assistant, you look at someone like an Antoine Sewell as a coordinator, would be an interesting one. Has been under Damon Wilson for a while, and I think he's kind of one of the up and coming names in terms of coordinators. Outside of those three right now, that's probably where I would leave it. I think it's too early, and I think the reason he announced it is because he respects South Carolina State so much. He wanted to give them time to get ahead of the game almost, because we know a late firing could set a team way back in terms of a coaching search. If your coach just dips at the end of January and you didn't know it, man, good luck trying to get a top candidate because a lot of the top candidates have already signed places.
Good luck trying to get decent recruits.
Yes. Oh yeah, because early signing day
Yeah.
is right there. So, and I think I've talked about this in terms of recruiting. Recruiting's pushing the coaching carousel further and further up in the season as there becomes more signing days and it becomes more important to get a head start on classes. You're going to see coaches fired early in the season. Like
Yeah.
we've seen coaches fired in late September, October, and that's going to continue because if you don't have a contingency plan announced, those recruits aren't coming to sign with you.
No. You jump out and you were on the warm seat. You may not see 1-3 or 0-4 just because the game is, we talk about all the time, the game has changed.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to use that against you in the recruiting battles. So, schools, I think, have become adapted to that. They now recognize the importance of that. I think Coach Pugh, like you said, recognized that, doesn't want to hurt the program. If he waits till November, December to make this announcement, and then it's not going to be an easy, quick process to find somebody else. So you basically missed that first signing day, and now you're scrambling to put together somebody who can come in with a staff who can hit the ground running in January to salvage the second signing day, and everything just becomes that much more difficult. And then you've got to have somebody there to hold the roster that's already on campus, hold that roster on campus, because we know that recruiting off campus is at an all-time high now.
No, man. I mean, and I think that like look at what happened with Bethune-Cookman.
Oh,
I
man.
mean, you can't let that happen.
No.
Like you fire Terry Sims, you take forever to make a hire, and then you make the wrong hire and have to do a second coaching search in the middle of spring. I mean, it's just, and then I even look at a situation like what happened in Kansas when Les Miles got pushed out due to the sanctions and everything. They go and hire the Buffalo head coach, Lance Leipold, and now Buffalo's in the middle of a coaching search in May.
Trying to figure out what happened.
Yeah, how do you approach that as a, like how do you approach that? So I'm not sure what where South Carolina State goes. I think I would rank it Chinnis Berry, Sam Washington, and if you're going to go coordinator, Antoine Sewell, or even throw it out here. Well, we talked about it, I want to say last week, Matt Leone.
He's in the conference. I think if you're looking in the conference, I think that's a great place to start. If you're looking to stay within the SWAC-MEAC confines, I think we could go through a couple different people, as far as top prospects, people that they would probably need to bring in. But I think they probably do it in a set of 10. 5, 10 phone interviews. Then we cut it down to 5 that we're going to actually bring on. But it's also kind of a difficult time as well because, they want to interview Leroy Frederick week 8. We're still in it. It's going to have to be a Zoom situation. And I don't know how you feel about Zoom interviews and things like that. Initially, cool. But at some point, I want to be sitting there with you, sitting next to you, because I need you to feel who I am. I need to feel who you guys are, get to look at some facial expressions, some body movements, and actually, see the place and let the people see me. So getting an assistant may be a little difficult to, go from there. But I think once you narrow it down now, okay, if you're really interested, you're going to need to get here on your off day for at least a couple hours and then, fly back, finish your season or whatever, that kind of thing. So it's going to be a tough process, but they've got enough time now to do it.
If you had to predict, man, and then we'll move on from this, when do you think that is like, if you had to guess, when do you think they're going to make the announcement on the next head coach? And then on the flip side, when do you think they should announce it?
Okay, so I'll start when I think they should. I think they should week 6, week 7.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Because now, you have time. I don't know what Siri's talking about. you have time to start that process Monday, because I'm sure the fax machines, the emails were already lit up today. You start that process Monday, narrowing down. If you feel you need to go to get a search firm, you got time to go get one. How do you feel about a search firm? Yeah, wait a minute. Let's stay on topic. We'll go back.
We'll get back to that.
We'll stay on topic. I think they should do it as early as possible. That way, there's no room for speculation, wild, out of this world talk. So and so is coming. I've heard this. And those things get inside the locker room. Those things get to players. That kind of thing. Now, when I think they will, depending on how the season go, probably around week 9, week 10, somewhere there toward the end.
I think I like that. I think when it should be right at the end of the season, like right after the last game. Even if you're going to the Celebration Bowl, announce it the last week of the season. So what's that, like one of the 2 last weeks of November? When do I think? Because I don't see them promoting anyone from the inside. You just went and hired a new OC in DC.
Yep.
So the odds of them being straight promoted are very low, I feel like. Because I would say this, unless they knew it was coming and they hired based on that. But when I look at the experience of the 2 guys they hired, I don't think either of them would be top head coaching candidates. And that's not saying that those guys can't coach. It's just I like that. Is that what you were thinking of when you went back and hired? Because they have one guy who was a former OC there,
yep.
And you got a guy who, if I'm not mistaken, is a first-time D coordinator. The odds of that being like the move is very low to me, just personally.
So let me ask you this: where do you think the years should range for the next guy to come in behind him?
In terms of years, what do you mean?
Coaching.
That's a good one. I don't know. I think if I'm looking at just qualities, I want to say you've got, in my opinion, experience in HBCU football has to be one. I think at least coordinator experience has to be another at the D1 level, or I won't say the D1 level, just a coordinator at, in the collegiate ranks. Let's put it that way. And then I think, because I don't want to put a number on it, because there's some really promising young coaches out there that, like, you look at some of the chances that have been taken. Man, I'm not going to say you got to coach a certain number of years. I just think HBCU experience is great, especially MEAC experience. And then I think if you go the coordinator route, you just got to do it at the collegiate level. I don't think you could take a chance on just a positional coach right now, because following up Buddy Pugh is, oh my God, man, that's not coming in after someone just got fired. This school hasn't had success. You got to follow up the winningest coach in school history. I don't think you can just go hire some random quarterback coach somewhere.
And high school is definitely out of the question.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, absolutely. I would say I would like to see the hire be younger.
Okay.
I will say that I don't think I think if you can keep the coach somewhere under 45, that would be great, because we've seen this movement with some successful teams is they're getting younger and younger and younger. And these younger head coaches, these younger assistants and everything, man, they're really connecting on the recruiting trail, man. They're recruiting at a high level. You look at what Incarnate Word has really built. Man, they just keep setting the bar lower and lower. Eventually, they're going to be hiring some 24-year-olds straight out of college. I mean, they're setting the bar super young. You look at someone like a Trey Lamb who got hired at Gardner-Webb. It's paid off pretty well for them. Look at South Dakota State's new head coach. Man, I don't think he's 40 yet.
Right.
I mean, so I would like to see someone younger, especially because the concern that everyone seemed to have about Buddy is that he was getting to the age where people were wondering if he was out of touch with where the game was going. Now, that would counter. You would also wonder, would a younger guy have enough experience to follow it up? But me and you talked before the show, you're going to probably need someone who's like eager, who's excited, who's going to bring a little bit of energy. I think if you go hire someone who doesn't bring that super social media savvy in terms of like wants to be on camera, wants to generate interest, that could set this higher back in my opinion, because I think that's what's missing with some of these top programs is that their coach, man, isn't in tune. You look at South Carolina State, let's be honest, they haven't really been in the media. Like you haven't seen a lot of interest come out of it because I don't think Buddy Pugh wants that. Like he's not in tune with that.
Right. That's not his world.
Yeah. So I think a younger guy would be good. I mean, how do you feel about it?
I think it has to be also somebody that, like you said, will embrace it. I think it has to be somebody that understands what they're coming behind, willing to accept the fact of what they're coming behind, somebody that's willing to keep the door open for him. I think if you look back, like at the Kansas State situation after Coach Snyder left the first time, shutting that and shutting the past off is not going to help you. So it has to be somebody that doesn't have that ego, that's willing to let coach come around, that's willing to let former players come around. So I wouldn't say a super young guy, middle of the road guy, but somebody that knows the landscape of, like you said, HBCU football, I think would be very important.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess that's the only reason I would have a little bit of hesitancy with Sam Washington is because he is a bit older.
He's Sam Washington.
Yeah, but he's Sam Washington. Like he's so proven that you kind of overlook that. But that's why I think Chinnis Berry is the sweet spot for me. He's still he's not super young, but you see him dancing with his players on social media. He has the energy. You feel it around him. He's involved with everything. That's what separates him. I think that's why he's a sweet point between a Sam Washington, because he is proven as a winner, can build a program, but he's not getting to the point where it's like, okay, well, like, are we just making a short-term investment on this guy?
Right. And like you said, he's been between the two conferences. He's in another conference, so to speak. I think his track record is one that, kind of speaks for itself. So, and I think he understands what the game is coming to now. It's still X's and O's, but you still got to find a way to reach the Jimmys and Joes, if that makes sense.
Oh, I'm with you on that, man. But shifting to week 0, it's finally here. It's finally here, man. Kickoff is just a day away. I mean, really, man. Tomorrow was Friday. I'm so pumped. I've been watching old games just to get ready. I'm just ready to watch some football. There's 3 FCS games this weekend. You got Fordham traveling up to UAlbany on Flow Sports. You got North Alabama facing number 19 Mercer, 2:30 p.m. Central Time, FCS kickoff game on ESPN. And of course, you got the prime time game everyone wants to talk about. Jackson State, South Carolina State, ABC, 6:30 kickoff. Coach, let's start with North Alabama Mercer, man. Let's start the FCS kickoff game. I think the lines haven't officially come out for this game, but I would expect Mercer to be a major favorite. North Alabama coming off a 1-win season, new head coach. Mercer obviously coming off of a year where they almost made the FCS playoffs. They returned probably the best wide receiving duo in the country, I would imagine. When you look at this game, man, what are your expectations for this game?
I want to see if Mercer moves the needle with those 2 guys outside. If they rely heavily on that, hey, who we got, what we're going to do. Now, who do you have that can take those 2 guys away, or can you, and make people prove it? The thing that I want to see with North Alabama is that program is not too far gone from, being a very, very good program. I want to see how they come back from that 1-9. Does it look anything like it did last year? Or did they come back and say, hey, this is what we're going to do, get back to more of what they've done in the past, which more wide open, fast attacking on both sides of the ball. They used to live in the junior college circuit. They built their program up that way. I think they kind of got away from it. So I want to see if Mercer's going to, really put themselves in a category we're passing team, or if they're going to try to be balanced. Because if I'm at Mercer, y'all can know if you want it. I mean, what you got? You got 6 of them that can cover those 2 guys? If not, we're going to feed it to him.
And you should. Man, Todd James, I really do think this guy, listen, I love Hayden Hatton. I love some of these other top receivers in the country. I think Todd James I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think he has the highest ceiling of any other wide receiver in the entire FCS. Todd James right now, he is the most underrated wide receiver in the country, in my opinion. I mean, no one's putting respect on this guy's name. And then you got Devron Harper, who can do it in so many different ways. When you have a big guy you can put on the outside like Todd James that can go get you 350 yards and 4 touchdowns against a team that almost went to the quarterfinals. And then you got Devron Harper you could throw in the slot, and he's your punt and kick returner All-American at that too.
He's going to touch the ball.
What do you do with that? I mean, if you didn't have a running back, you could probably put Devron Harper at running back, and they wouldn't know what to do with him.
Right. He's going to touch the ball. I'm trying to see if this is Coach Quinn, but he's going to touch the ball, and I really want to see him commit to that.
Yeah.
To me, that gives you your best chance. You play off of that, and then let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah. Dustin in the chat put so. Devron Harper had almost 1,900 total yards last season, had 10 receiving touchdowns, 4 rushing, a kick return, and a punt return touchdown last year for Mercer.
Video game numbers.
And does it effortlessly. But I know people are worried that Fred Payton is gone at quarterback for Mercer, but I really do think they did not watch enough film from the spring. Carter Peavy, his true freshman year, was great as a true freshman. I loved his game. He had to play because, okay, so just to give people a backstory, Fred Payton transferred in from Coastal Carolina. Since he played the fall season, he wasn't eligible for the spring, so they had to start a true freshman in Peavy, who led them to their first conference, their winning conference record in school history. And then Carter sat for 2 years instead of transferring, waited for Peyton to play out his eligibility, and now is stepping back into the QB1 role. The fact that that kid didn't transfer is insane.
Because that does not happen.
No, he was the newcomer of the year for the SoCon, if I'm not mistaken, and stayed and sat on the bench for 2 years.
Newcomer of the year. Get this headset.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Carter Peavy's due for a breakout year, man. I've heard great things throughout fall camp. You give them Todd James, Devron Harper. Their starting running back last year got hurt. He's back healthy, and their leading rusher from last year returns.
So what are you going to do? I mean, you're going to play run, you're going to play pass. And when you're playing the run, all he's got to do is get it close to those guys.
Yep. Especially Todd James. Todd James, it don't matter.
Don't make a play. You're going to play the pass. Now he just has to be smart. Just hand it off. Just don't wreck the car and let the game come to you. And he has game experience.
Yep. I'm with you. And then looking at North Alabama, listen, my guy is Brent Dearman. That's my dude. I really want him to be successful, but this game is going, I don't think this game is going to define his, like, the rest of his career. But, hang on real quick, guys, man. We're going to come back to this Mercer game, but I think we got Coach Quinn back on here. Coach, you back?
I'm back.
Hey, you changed clothes. Oh, you
The shower is next door, man. Don't start.
Flexing on us. Okay.
Oh, man. Well, Coach, so the question I asked before we lost your connection is, you guys brought in a lot of talent at defensive back, both in high school and the transfer ranks. Talk a little bit about your room going into the season and what you think the ceiling is, man, for this defensive back unit.
I can tell you this: the expectation I hold them to is high. Talent is in the room. I just need them to do the right thing all the time. It's all about the culture for me. Just doing what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it and how it's supposed to be done. But for the most part, the guys, they came in this summer, they bought in. They got right with the culture. I think Saturday we'll know, maybe about 11 p.m. Saturday, we'll know a little bit more about this group. I always tell them to judge a man about what you go through. And Saturday, we're finna go through something. We're finna go to war together. So I'll know more about the group. They talent, but I know more about them after this game Saturday.
When you look at fall camp and what you guys went through preparing for this game, the media team at Jackson's done a great job in terms of highlighting the players, showing some of the big plays. Talk a little bit about the competition between the offense and the defense, man. It looks like it gets a little bit heated out there, and you guys push each other. How competitive is it day to day at those practices?
Iron sharpen iron. They got a great staff on the offense side of the ball that, it's move pretty fast. Got some great concept in, and defensively, whoever bring the juice that day normally win the practice that day. And we go back and forward. But to sum it up, iron sharpen iron. It's talent on that side of the ball as well.
When you look at South Carolina State, they have a very, very experienced quarterback in Corey Fields coming back for his graduate season. Of course, they got some young wide receivers that are going to have to step up instead of Shaq Davis. When you look at that offense, what do you think some of the biggest challenges are that they're going to present for your defensive back unit?
Just the length they have out wide. You look at that roster, 3 or 4 guys that stand 6'4" and 6'5". That's some length. So our biggest challenge is on the vertical football, just making sure we're doing a great job protecting the vertical football. Keep everything in front of us. If we do that, we're gonna have a great chance coming out with a win Saturday.
You've coached with Coach Bradley for a long time now, man. He's the defensive coordinator for Jackson. What is he like just working with him and just in terms of his defensive mind, man? How fun is it to coach with him and how aggressive his defense can be?
First of all, Coach Brad, a great guy. Outside of football, he'll give you the shirt off his back. So it's always a blessing to work for a guy like that. He's fun to be around. At time it's all about football, but it's time in the office he just keep you rolling. And when you're having fun in the office, you look around 14, 15 hours pass and everybody around still laughing and bright eyes and bushy tail. But scheme wise, he do a little bit of everything. We want the defense to match his mentality. That's to be aggressive.
For you as a coach, how you guys get to play on ABC in primetime, man. There's not a lot of FCS teams in the country that get this opportunity. What has been your message to the team on performing on that stage and just preparing to be in front of millions of people, man, on ABC on Saturday night?
Take advantage of it. Like you said, a lot of FCS teams don't get this opportunity. So let's take advantage of it. Let's put a great product on the field Saturday that everybody will be willing to invest in. And that's been the message all week.
Man, I think Coach Fred, man, he was messing with you about your service, and now we lost him. So I just texted him to hop back on here. But man, but Coach Quinn, just looking at your journey overall, man, when you look throughout your journey through Alcorn, Jackson State, just throughout all your coaching stops, what's been your biggest learning experience thus far as a coach?
How to manage different personalities. That's the biggest thing in coaching. Man, every day is always something new. You just got to find a way to put that fire out, dealing with different personalities, what's going to make him trigger, what's going to make him crash. That's been the biggest challenge in this profession so far.
Coach Fred, I'm going to let you jump in, man. Me and Coach Quinn been having a back and forth, and you were messing with him.
I heard everything he said, but then I looked up, and it's like, where did my camera go? I heard everything. Coach Bradley, man, he'll tell you. I used to tell him all the time, man, he has the patience of a 4th grade teacher. I used to laugh all the time. He'd come down the hill with his defensive lineman and he'd turn around and he'd always say something like, "Hey man, stop touching each other. Hey, would you quit?" I was like, "Man, you act like a 4th grade teacher, man." He's like, "Man, I gotta," so he is super, super light to be around as far as, football goes. So I know how that goes, but now that he's in charge, Quinn, he's the guy. How has that changed, or has that changed?
Not at all. Haven't changed a bit. He still approaches the day as the same person. We don't laugh for all the bird you catch him at. He's a great time. He's gonna have fun. He's gonna crack jokes. But when we're on the field, it's all about football. It's about being in the right way, doing what you're supposed to do.
Right. And now, you back to that Jackson Wi-Fi, sounded like T-Pain on us, but we're going to work through it. But, at the end of the day, man, I know the opportunity for you guys to be on primetime television. You have a lot of new guys. How have we talked about that in the building, about letting that overcome what we need to be doing inside the lines? Here he go. He's trying to adjust it.
Man, I think you guys are on the same Wi-Fi plan because every time your phone is good, his phone isn't. And then when your phone was messed up, his phone was great, man. Me and him had a great conversation.
I'm listening to the whole thing, and I'm like, why is my square black? You know, but I'm listening to the whole thing, but I couldn't see myself. Quinn, you back? Ah. He's trying to find that one little piece in the building.
Yep. He's trying to find that. We'll get him back. But man, back to this Mercer North Alabama game, man. Listen, Dearman's my guy, but they just got so many question marks going. And I just feel like it's unfortunate that their first game, they get Mercer, who's coming back, probably going to achieve like career high, like school records this year in terms of what they're gonna produce. When I look at the quarterback battle, Noah Walters comes back. They got the Florida Atlantic transfer TJ Smith, who I think is really promising. Yes, you do lose Shunderick Powell, who transferred to Central Arkansas, was the ASUN Offensive Player of the Year. But you return a guy who was all conference 2 years ago in Parker Driggers, and then also got DeMarcus Lacey, who made the transition from wide receiver to running back. So I think they're going to have enough offensive firepower. It's just going to be, I do think outside of the defensive line, they got some questions. I think we got Coach Quinn back again.
Did we find a spot?
Man, we just taking turns.
We found a spot. We found a spot. Good. Hey, so I was asking before you got cut out, man, like, you know, being on national television, what's been the talk inside the building about not letting that overtake you or taking you away from what it is you want to do on the field in between the lines?
Just, you know, making the main thing, keeping the main thing the main thing. You know, that go down this one up and go back to celebrate in Atlanta. You know, just tell me.
I don't care what y'all say. That's that school up the street internet. That ain't got nothing to do with nothing to do. That's that school up the street internet. That's all that is. I'm gonna leave it at that, Quinn. I know you can hear me. I just can't hear you. You back?
Did we get him back?
Nah. Dang it. It's all right. We good. Quinn.
Let's see. Someone in the chat said to turn the Wi-Fi off and just use the data. Oh man, but you know, getting back, I guess, man, we're skipping all around tonight, man. Appreciate all y'all tuning in, man. We're trying to work through the technical difficulties, man. Hit the like button, all that stuff. We're gonna I'm probably gonna chop up Coach Quinn's interview, man, from the little parts we got and drop it tomorrow for you guys. That way you guys can get it uninterrupted what we've asked. We got some good questions in, good information. But now I love TK Kennebrew at wide receiver for North Alabama, man. Philip Osai, Cameron Green on the defensive lines, outstanding. I think they got some great pieces in the secondary, man. They really hit the transfer portal hard. It's just, I don't think this is the game that we're going to see a huge upset. Like if Mercer loses this game, I mean, you're talking about where does their season go from here? And you have a North Alabama team, new head coach, new quarterback. And I mean, I think there's a lot of unknowns with that, but I do think Mercer has enough talent to overcome that, in my opinion, Coach. So let me get your prediction for this North Alabama Mercer game and what you got Saturday at 2:30.
Oh man, I'm saying Mercer. I'm going 32-14, and those two guys at the receiver spot, buck 20 apiece.
I could see that. Yeah, I got Mercer 38-21. this weekend. I think North Alabama's gonna be able to score early because listen, it's week 0. We all know what it is. Like I think early it can be close,
Yep.
but I think Mercer's gonna pull away. 38-21 Mercer over North Alabama this weekend, man. Before we get to the MEAC SWAC Challenge, man, quickly, Fordham traveling to U Albany, 6 p.m. Central on Flow Sports. Last season, U Albany lost this game 48-45 on the road against Fordham in week 3. Of course, Tim DeMoret is gone for Fordham. So looking at this game, Coach, man, what are you looking for?
To see how Fordham, see how they've rebounded, see what they've put together from that heck of a run they had last year. All the pressures on the guy taking the ball, taking the snap now. How does he respond? And defensively, where are they now? Can they win games for them now that they don't have my guy back there throwing for 800 yards a game in shootouts? You know, so what have they done defensively? Have they changed? Are they the same? And how is this guy that's taking the snaps going to be ready to go now?
Yeah, I think the quarterback question is huge for Fordham this game. Now, you do have MJ right back, who was one of the 3 1,000-yard wide receivers they had, which is still stupid. They had 3 receivers at over 1,100 yards.
Ooh, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you, DeMoret's that guy. And then you still got Mekhi Felton back, who had 500 yards last year. So wide receivers abundant. Like, and I've seen some of their clips from fall camp. They're still pushing it down the field. You lose your leading rusher in Sneed, but Julius Lowridge is one of the highest graded running backs in the FCS, 900 plus yards last season on the ground. He's going to have a bigger role. You got the Utah transfer, Ricky Parks, coming in as well to add some depth at running back. On defense, James Conway, 127 total tackles last year, was an FCS All-American this preseason. He'll probably be leading the defense. You return your leader in the secondary is Steven Williams, 3 picks, 12 pass breakups. But the question becomes for me is, last season you won a lot of shootouts. Do you have a quarterback who can win you those shootouts again? One of the shootouts was U Albany, who I want to flip to them. Their record is really bad last year. I want to say they only won 3 games last year. 5 of their 8 losses came by less than 10 points last year.
How much did they grow? You know,
they were on the cusp. And I think teams, I don't know how you feel about this, Coach. I want to get your opinion. Teams that have a lot of close games the year before, they either learn to win them or, I mean, it gets real ugly the next year.
And I think what happens with that also, you're exactly right. But I think a couple things go into that factor into that. How young were they? Did they learn if they were young? And if they were old, what did the young guys behind the older guys learn to put them over the top of those games? Which is why I said now, Fordham defensively, can you pick up until your quarterback gets in a groove? He's not the guy that just left.
No.
I'm not saying he's not good, but he's not the guy that just left. Can you guys on the defense hold up until he can catch his groove and possibly get you in those and get you out of those shootouts?
Yeah, when I look at U Albany, their quarterback situation, Reese, I want to say it's Poffenbarger, which is an outrageous last name. 3,000 yards and 24 passing touchdowns as a true freshman. Only 4 picks. Was a Jerry Rice Award finalist. He's coming back. I think he could take a massive step. Now, he loses his top tight end, Thomas Greeny, but he returns Roy Alexander, Julian Hicks. Both of these guys were his top 2 leading wide receivers. He returns 3 of his top 5 wide receivers from last year.
That's huge.
For this offense. That's huge for a young guy to have that continuity. And then on the defensive front, you return Anton Junk, I want to say it's Junkai, 12 tackles for loss, Elijah Hillis, 9.5 tackles for loss, and AJ Simon, 10.5 tackles for loss. A lot of talent on that front 4. That could be huge. If they can figure out their secondary, U Albany could take a massive step forward, because I think we talked about this in the CAA. It's really William and Mary, maybe New Hampshire, and then everybody else. Can Albany be that team that surprises everyone and finishes in that middle of the pack range where no one's really expecting it?
It's still a couple games and, find themselves with an opportunity at the end to be able to get into the playoffs. Hey, say that last name again, Pendergrass?
No, Poffenbarger. Yeah, Poffenbarger. I mean, hey, I'll take it, but man, the kid's a stud. And I think for a true friend, again, we talked about this with Giovanni McCoy at Idaho. For that kid to have that season and come back, huge.
Yeah, huge. Because it don't happen this way in the game anymore.
Mm-mm.
Somebody should have come or would have came with a hot NIL deal. So hats off to them to be able to keep him, and hats off to him to stay. So that tells me a lot about that kid. That tells me a lot about what they have. That makes him say, you know what, I want to come back. He wasn't shopping himself. He stayed put because it would have been easy to shop himself on the internet and get picked up. I know he would have piqued my interest as well. 3,000 yards. I mean, come on. That's a lot of yards. And that means that he is pretty efficient.
Yeah, he was my leader for the Jerry Rice Award until McCoy beat Montana on the road. That was a big thing. Like, I mean, because him and Giovanni had a very similar stats, but when Giovanni's winning in the Big Sky and you're losing in the CAA, that's tough. Like, when you're picking these awards, sometimes you got to split really fine hairs. I'm taking the guy who's winning in the Big Sky.
Tougher week in, week out. He's seen a lot tougher competition week in, week out. I'm with you.
Give me your score prediction. Albany hosting Fordham this weekend, man. 6:00 on Flow Sports, man. What's your prediction for this one?
I got this one like 27-24. Just because I think it's going to be, like you said, a lot of jitters for that guy from Fordham that's taking the snaps. But he's got guys that's going to be able to get him some plays. I'm saying 27-24. They win it.
So you got Fordham?
Yep, I got Fordham.
I like it. I'm going upset here. I have a feeling, man, that Reitz is going to take a step forward. I think Albany is going to be better than people are thinking. I got Albany for the upset at home, 45-41. I think it's going to be high scoring again. Yeah, I think it's going to be high scoring. Now, I think the difference is with their defensive front, with Fordham having a new quarterback, they're going to be able to get pressure. And the fact that they have more depth on the defensive line than I'm assuming Fordham has and that's going to pay off at the end of the game when they're able to get a pass rush late in that fourth quarter. Because I think it's going to be a high-scoring game like last year where it's going to be who can make the stop last. They're going to be fresher in the fourth quarter.
But up front, Albany lost, 3 of the 5?
In terms of offensive linemen for Fordham?
No, for Albany. New Albany.
Albany, yeah, you returned your top 3 defensive linemen at Albany.
No, offensive line.
Oh, offensive line? I want to say they return a majority, but I could be wrong. I want to say they returned probably 3 of the 5 or so.
3 of the 5, so they lost 2. Yeah.
Yeah, so they lost 2. So I just think they're going to be able to get pressure. I trust their defensive line to win the game more so than I do Fordham's. And I just don't know who they have outside of Stephen Williams in the secondary, man. Like, one guy can't do it all in the secondary because you can just throw away from him.
Hey, but like you said, it's week 0. There's going to be some strange bounces. Special teams is going to be freaking huge.
Yep.
So we'll see who wins that. But I'm saying Fordham 27-24.
I like it. That's the first game we disagreed on. Going to the game of the week. Obviously, number 21, Jackson State, facing South Carolina State, 7:30 p.m. Central Time, ABC. Hey, end of an era. Buddy Pugh's first game of the season. I mean, it's huge, man. We talked about what that meant in terms of him announcing his retirement. Coach, I just want your initial takes on this game. What are you going to be looking for each team going into this matchup?
I'll start with South Carolina State. How do they handle the emotions early with the announcement? That, and then the new additions of the coordinators, what that imprint looks like early, and can they handle the first 3 minutes of the game? After that, that initial high of wanting to win this, Coach Pugh, I'm sure it's going to be all over the stands, all over the stadium. After that first 3 minutes is over, how do they handle it, and what are they able to do? From the other side, if you get down early, what now? That's what I'm looking for with them. As not the obvious like everybody else, who tries out there as a signal caller? I think that would be huge as well. Defensively, I mean, you could play base and get away with it. But what kind of imprint does Coach Bradley have that's going to be different from what we've used to seeing for the last 2 years from Jackson? What kind of defensive scheme will they roll out there? But if they go down early, how do they respond?
Yeah, I mean, when I look at South Carolina State, there's the major question for me is which Corey Fields do we get? We've seen the lows of lows with Corey Fields, and it's not pretty. But then we've seen the second half of the Celebration Bowl. We saw what he did against North Carolina Central, where he outplayed Davius Richard last season and led South Carolina State to that win. What are we getting from him? New OC, a big stage, no Shaq Davis. You're looking at wide receiver. I mean, Jordan Smith and Rakeem White were the 2 and 3 wide receivers. They're going to have to step up. They're both built very similar to Shaq, but can they let's just be honest, you can't replace Shaq Davis. Like, neither of those guys are Shaq. So what are they going to do for them defensively? Obviously, Jablonski Green, Patrick Godbold is your stars on that front seven. Jalen Davis, a name that you probably wish, I didn't get to say on this one, is Malcolm McGee, transferred over there in the secondary. But outside of those two guys, it's a new look secondary. Is it going to come together? Because I don't think that secondary has been the same since 2 years ago when they lost. I'm blanking on his name.
After the Celebration Bowl or whatever.
Yeah. Their secondary took a major step back last year. For Jackson, obviously it's a quarterback situation. If I had to put money on it, either Jason Brown or Jacoby Morgan is going to walk out there for the first snaps. If I had to put money on it, Jacoby Durant. Thanks, Calvin. And Zafir White was the names I was thinking about. But I think it's going to be Jason Brown and Jacoby Morgan, and I would put my money on Jason Brown just because of the experience.
That Kobe Durant fellow was pretty good, wasn't
he? Yeah, just a little bit. I think so. But when I look at Jason Brown, he's what, a 6th, 7th year guy. I just don't see why he goes somewhere where even if he's not the starter for the whole year and he loses the job, he's got to get the first snaps, right?
I would think. Stranger things have happened.
No, stranger things have definitely happened, but I just don't see how he doesn't take the first snaps. I think he takes the first snaps. We may see Jacoby and Morgan. I wouldn't put out the realm possibility we see more than one quarterback for Jackson, depending on how things go. If one guy goes out there and is balling, that's cool. But I'm interested to see Maurice Harris, TC Taylor. What's the patience? What's the leash for these quarterbacks? Like, if someone goes out there and it's second quarter, it's 3-0, and neither team's really moving the ball, do we go for a spark and put in a Jacoby and Morgan? Do we put in a Phillip Short or someone else? Yeah. That's a question for me, is what is the tolerance for these quarterbacks? Or do you have a guy, you've just been hiding it, and that's your guy regardless of how they play?
Yeah, and you bring another point up that I want to see and hear, and I wish I was there to feel it. Like, what's the patience of the fans? South Carolina State go up 10-0, offense not playing well. When do the tomatoes come out? That's what I want, and that's just the fan side of me, not the coach side. The fan side of me wants to know what the patience level from the ticket buyers, the ticket holders, what is that going to be? What does that look like?
Yeah, because I mean, because I don't blame anyone. Like, let's be honest, man. I've seen people like Bo Nix was playing really well for Auburn. I've seen Auburn fans boo him off the field. Like, these guys don't have any, like, stock for, like, the fans. Man, if you don't go out there and play,
Man, give me my $60 worth, baby.
yeah, man, like, because I think it depends on what the halftime score is. Because if I'm TC and we're down 10-0, 17-0, or even like 17-3, 17-6, we just aren't moving the ball well. We can't get into the end zone. At halftime, I'm making a change. I have to.
Yeah, I don't think you let it just play itself out at that point. I think you've got to interject yourself, and then you kind of go from there. So I agree with you on that. Yeah.
Wide receivers interesting for me for Jackson too. I know there's a lot of guys who are projected to step up. They brought in a lot of transfers. What is that rotation like? Is there going to be a guy emerge? We've seen every year someone emerge as the guy for Jackson State. And then they've also kind of had like a breakout guy who's like the number 2 star, but they've always had that reliable guy. 2 years ago, it was Corvin. Last year, it was Dallas Daniels. And then you had the big play threats of Shane Hooks and Malachi Wadman the past 2 years. And then, of course, you threw Travis Hunter in there when he got healthy. Who's going to fill those roles this year?
That, and then I think it all 360s back to who rolls out there and takes the snap, calls that first set hut. And the timing that, that he has with those guys. And then the guys up front, they're replacing a lot of guys up front as well. I remind people all the time that it's not 707. When that ball snapped and that quarterback has it in his hand, those other guys on the other side of the ball are coming. They want that ball. So how are we going to be able to, hold up front and then be able to see who's going to be able to, emerge as those playmakers outside. And the run game.
Mm-hmm. The biggest matchup to watch for me is South Carolina State's O-line versus Jackson's D-line. To me, that decides the game, ultimately.
No.
Because Jackson has relied so much on pressure. And look, even going back to Coach Bradley at Alcorn State, you guys relied so much on pressure last season.
We had guys that could rush the passer. We had guys at the second level that could also do it as well. So when you say that, my thing is, does he have to bring pressure or can he win it with the 4? If he can win it with the 4 up front and not bring pressure, that makes life so much easier on everybody else. But if he's got to start bringing 5, 6, 0, now you're living on the edge because now it doesn't take but one time for that 6'4" guy, 6'5" guy to be able to go up and get a jump ball and change, the outlook of the game.
I do think it's important to bring pressure early on Corey Fields. I will say that.
I think you're right.
Even if it's not 4, if you bring like a 5-6 person blitz early, like for Corey Fields, you've seen in the past, like if you can speed him up, that's the key.
It gets a little loose.
Yeah. And so I think if really and truly they can get to Corey Fields early and get that internal clock ticking a bit faster, especially with week 0, it kind of sets your clock each game. And by the end of the first quarter, your clock's kind of set as a quarterback. If they can make it tick just a little faster than Corey Fields is comfortable with, Jackson has the advantage in that point. Because defensive tackle wise, they could, even though they're not typical pass rushers, Devontae Davis and Jeremiah Williams, they're really good defensive tackles. If you can start generating pressure from inside, even if you lack in the edge rusher, like a Niles Gaddy, like a James Houston, and we let Doyle and Phillip Webb and some of these guys start developing, if you can generate pressure from inside and let those edge guys kind of come into their game, get into the flow of the game early, and these experienced guys can carry the load early, man, that's huge for Jackson in terms of what they can start doing defensively.
And I think you bring up a great point as well. All camp, you tag off on the quarterback. So they may feel it run by, but the minute you start being, you're able to touch them now. You're able to put hands on them. So now that clock goes a little bit faster after that first hit. So I think that goes Jackson way, but I also think that goes South Carolina State way as well. You've got a guy that we are projecting. We don't know that we're projecting that's played a lot of football, 6 years. Now, where is he with his clock? He hadn't been touched all camp. Now, where is he with his clock? With those guys being able to tee off, how is he going to adapt? Is it going to come back? Is it going to take a minute for him to get to where he needs to be? He's going to use his legs. He's going to try to show his arm. Now we're touching these guys that are taking the snap. Now let's see where they are mentally and see what happens.
That's an interesting concept too, even for Jackson, because let's flip it. New offensive line for the most part. You got Evan Henry and some pieces coming back. Love DeAndre Towns-Blue and some of those guys, but we'll see what the unit plays like. When you got a guy like Patrick Godbolt and Jablonski Green finally healthy, you have to make South Carolina State bring more than 4 guys. They're missing BJ Davis, who was an electric player. I thought probably had a real case for MEAC Defensive Player of the Year last year. You get Aiden Weber from Delaware State. You return Aaron Smith at linebacker. He was your second leading tackler. If you can let those guys stay in coverage and not have to bring those guys to get after the quarterback, that's huge. And then my question with Jason Brown is his mobility. If they start getting pressure, is a guy like a Jacobian Morgan a better option? Is a guy who is a little bit more mobile the better option at quarterback? Because now you need someone to get out of the quarterback and maybe be able to make plays with his legs to keep those edge rushers from getting upfield.
Yes. And will he be willing to? He doesn't have to be Michael Vick, but will he be willing to get out on the edge, go get you 5 yards, get on the edge, prolong some plays, get some scramble drill working? Or is he just dead set on being in between that thing, that same launch point, staring that thing down in his face? So you bring up a great point. That's a double edge. How does he handle it? Does he want to handle it? Can he handle it? And the guys with the collar shirts, how long are we going to look at it if he can't handle it?
Yeah, because I've heard, because my question was like, how, as much as the question marks on Jackson's quarterbacks, how long is Corey Fields' leash? They pulled him really quick last year.
Yeah, and
they got a 6'4", 220 redshirt freshman quarterback that everyone's real excited to see play. How short is his leash now? From what I'm hearing, it's very long. That I don't think, but like Buddy, in my opinion, in his last year, might be willing to live or die with what Corey Fields does, and that's fine.
Yeah, he's brought me here.
Yeah,
he's brought me to dance. I'm willing to dance with him a little bit longer. But I also know that Coach Pugh ain't about just watching that thing get away from him either. You know what I mean? So I know in his last year, I'm pretty sure that speech to the team was, what's the old cliche? Win one for the Gipper. I'm sure it's one of those kind of speeches. No pressure, but just a little pressure.
Yeah, just a little bit, and I'm really excited to see. It's been a while since this guy suited up. Just for me personally, because I like watching good football. Asaias Guthrie, what does he look like? Finally back in a football uniform, playing on a big stage. He was electric for Delaware State, all over the field. And I think with some new faces in that secondary, that's invaluable to have as a guy who has taken on leadership role, has led a number 1 defense in a defensive-minded conference like the MEAC. He led Delaware State to the number 1 defense and was a freshman All-American. He's real mature. I've had him on the show. That's invaluable for that secondary. You combine him with Keverick Wiggins, Jalen Hughes, who saw a lot of action last year. Does his presence in the back end as a safety that can play all over, can cover as well one-on-one if you need him to. I wonder what his presence does for the rest of the guys, knowing that he's kind of back there as like an outfielder covering the mistakes of anything they make. And
that's why, Coach Quinn and that school up the street internet is freaking bugging me. Because it's one of the questions that we could ask. But, just from the outside looking in, football, man, that experience, that leadership, you can't put a price on it. So, being in that spotlight for those young guys, I'm pretty sure he is a tower of light, and I'm excited and really intrigued to see where they play him. Just because of, like you said earlier, with the influx of talent that they have in the back. I'm excited to see where they play him. I really want to see if they're going to play him at the free, if they're going to play him at one of the short corners or whatever. I just want to see where they use him.
I think you got to play him at the free. Just me personally, because I don't think you can bring him as like an in the box guy. Like I'm not sure he's like a big tackler. He's so good at covering and tracking the ball and making plays after the catch. In terms of like after he intercepts it, he's dangerous when he's on the loose. Man, you got to just let him play back there. Like he's so. I think what I was trying to say is he's so instinctual that if you put him anywhere other than free, where he can just move and read and react, you almost take his best quality away from him.
Well, I wasn't saying strong. I'm just curious to see if they're going to play him at the free or one of the corner spots. And when I say short,
yeah,
meaning boundary corner or field corner or whatever, because
that's interesting.
Experience, and then because they are so big, South Carolina State in that receiver room, will they say, "Hey, you take this guy away on this corner, and we play somewhere else"? Or, like you said, just let him play over the top. And if y'all want to play jump ball, I can go play jump ball coming from, off the roof kind of situation. So I'm really intrigued to see where they actually play him at.
I would imagine that Kevrick's going to be at one of those corner spots. I would have to think that. And then Jalen, maybe. I mean, I guess you could possibly move Jalen to the slot if you want to move Isaias to a safety spot. But or, I mean, I guess I don't know how Isaias would do in the slot personally. I mean, I'm sure he could do it, but I mean, because you could put Jalen, Kevrick, and then have Isaias kind of be that slot guy. But I'm interested. That is a good question now that I'm thinking about it, because they do have a lot of pieces that they can move around back there.
And then it'll be interesting to see how Coach Bradley plays it. If he plays it in the 4-2-5 type situation, where he's going to play 5 of those guys in the back, or if he's going to play a true 4-3 situation, where that nickel or that strong safety is a true, like you said, in the box kind of guy. So it'd be interesting to see, because like you said, they have a lot of talent in the back. So if you got a lot of talent in the back, not so much in the middle, you probably pay more of the talent in the back, that kind of thing. But I just want to see where they play him at. That's my whole thing when it comes to him.
I like it. DJ Stevens too at tight end. I think he's going to be a big target, especially with some of the new faces at wide receiver. Having that like go-to guy that's big. You saw in the Celebration Bowl, he kind of was featured a little bit more now, with some of the receivers comparative to some of the receivers, man. But Coach, we're going to wrap it up here, man. It's almost over an hour now. Give me your prediction. MEAC SWAC Challenge this weekend. ABC over in Atlanta, Georgia, man. What you expecting?
Which one you want? Do you want the coach of the rival school prediction, or do you want your co-host prediction?
Well, I need my co-host prediction just for this one.
I'm taking. I'm actually taking. I'm gonna take South Carolina State, because I mean, Coach Pugh, man, the emotion, television, week 0. If I'm in that locker room, if I'm on that coaching staff, I'm playing that up as far as I can freaking play it. Coach Pugh, opening night college football, everybody in America is watching us. We got to go out and put this thing on the line for Coach Pugh. If we don't win another game, we've got to win this one. All of America's watching. Everybody's hungry for football. Let's show them what we got, that kind of thing. So I'm taking them in a 32-28 type deal.
That's a lot of points. That's a lot of points.
The strange things that can happen in the special teams game. I really feel that Corey Fields has the ability to do it. Now, he doesn't have number 1 on the outside, but he has pieces that look like number 1 on the outside. So, I mean, and he's also one that can do it with his legs. It breaks down. I think he can make it happen. So, yeah, I'm at 32-28.
Man, I'll be honest. So I wrote, I do my prediction article every week for the website, and I've had this written up for 2 days, and I just can't decide. Like I couldn't decide on the UAlbany score, and I couldn't decide on this score. I just went back and forth, back and forth. I just have a feeling, man. I love Corey Fields. I just can't trust him. Every time I put my trust in him, he lets me down. I picked South Carolina State for like 2 games last year, and they let me down. I got a feeling Jackson's going to find a way to get it done. I think next week is the week we're going to learn a lot about Jackson. I'm gonna pick Jackson. I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna pick Jackson 23-20.
Oh, okay.
Close, low scoring game. I'll be honest. That's why I said there was a lot of points. I don't see either one of these teams hitting 30 points in week 0.
Okay. I'm with
It's gonna be. I just got a weird feeling it's gonna be a disgusting game this weekend. Like, because you look at it, new coordinator, 4 new coordinators.
Yeah, a lot of
I mean, all over the place. You got Corey Fields coming off of his worst probably season in his career. You got a new quarterback at Jackson. You got brand new wide receivers at South Carolina State. You got brand new wide receivers at Jackson.
Pickens.
The strength, the returning strength is in the defensive lines. Man, I just think it could get now. I expect both teams to give up a lot of sacks.
So you really want to go like 3-0.
I said this. I wouldn't be surprised if neither team hit 20.
Keeps us next to the TV. I'm good.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those like drag out type games. And so, yeah, I'm gonna ride with Jackson 23-20. I'll say I keep it close too because I don't think either team blows either one out.
Okay, so we keep it. Me and you, it's split. Well, we agreed on one. And
the obvious one, I feel like we agreed. So to recap our picks, guys, we both have Mercer over North Alabama. He's picking Fordham over UAlbany. I'm going with the upset UAlbany over Fordham. Coach is going with the upset South Carolina State over Jackson, and I'm going Jackson beating South Carolina State by 3. So those are our picks for week 0. If you're rewatching this, we skip around a lot. We did our buddy Pew talk. We had a short interview with Torenzo Quinn throughout the episode, throughout the hour, all over the episode, man. So I'm going to chop up Coach Quinn's interview, drop it as its own episode, probably either later tonight or in the morning so you can catch it all just in its continuity there. You can catch the replay of this right here on YouTube channel and all podcast streaming platforms. And I'm going to chop that up. I'm probably dropping in 2 separate ones where you can watch the preview and then you can listen to the interview on both platforms. So
we'll be better.
We're going to get that worked out. So next week, we did Jackson this week. We didn't want to pick Jackson 2 weeks in a row. Our game of the week next week is Texas Southern PV. So we got some special guests lined up. Say that again.
I said, yeah, Coach Frederick.
Yep. So we're going to have Coach Frederick, offensive coordinator for PV. We're still working on a Texas Southern coach. So stay tuned for that, guys. This weekend, stay tuned for press conferences, highlights, all that good stuff from all the FCS games. And, man, Coach, you got anything to say to the people before we roll out of here?
Hold on, man. We got to go back. You are you're the Lee Corso of this thing, right? Paul Firebomb of the YouTube thing. You're heading that direction. What did you got up? What did you got lined up, man? What's the slate? Week 0 into week 1.
Okay, so just to let y'all know, I will not be in Atlanta this weekend. I will be going to North Alabama Mercer because of some credential disagreements on that. We'll just call it that. I don't want to burn any bridges or anything. Next week, I should be in South Bend, Indiana, Notre Dame versus Tennessee State, man. Shout out to Eddie George and all them for letting me ride up with them for that. And then week 2, I will be in Brookings, South Dakota State versus Montana State. That game's going to be I can't wait for that one, man. I already got my flight booked, hotel booked, rental car ready. I'm ready for week 2.
Taking your sunscreen, right?
No, kicks off at 6:00.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, it might be cold. That's what I'm worried about. It's like it kicks off at night, and I still have a feeling it's going to be weirdly cold in September in South Dakota. Never been to South Dakota, so we'll see. I might have to be wearing a hoodie out there. I don't know. It's going to be 100-something degrees tomorrow. I mean, on Saturday. So really not looking forward to that one.
On turf.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, at the Crampton Bowl. It is turf, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Good Lord.
Favor, man. Do not get out there on that sideline and cramp and have either one of those medical staffs have to come get you, man. Don't do that.
Oh, no. Listen, I got me what's that liquid IV? You put
Please.
in the water? Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I've been hydrating, man. Do not worry on that. But guys, stay tuned for more content right here on the Blue Bloods, man. Me and Coach, I'm gonna get with Coach. We might be doing a recap show and then keeping this our preview show. We'll let you know. But guys, for the Coach's Corner, for myself, my guy Coach Fred, and the Blue Bloods, man, we are
Sure.
out for right now.